Good morning. Welcome back. It's Friday Coffee Talks. Welcome to March, the last month of the quarter, last month of the year for us at Store Magic. I got one of the last Starbucks around that will make me the Apple Crisp Macchiato. So shout out to the Kroger Starbucks here in Swanee. You guys are the true champions. Today we have a great talk to inspire you into the last month of the quarter, last month of the year. A great talk about sales, about farming, about leadership, about entrepreneurship. So without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with my good friend, John Barry. Well, welcome back. We are here for Friday Coffee Talks. This is episode number 57. And today we are joined by an entrepreneur, a farmer, I guess you could say, a crazy driver, good friend of mine, and somebody that puts the value in value-added reseller. It's John Barry. Welcome to the show, John.
Howdy. Appreciate
How you doing today? Yeah, thank you for being here. We appreciate the time, my friend.
Good. Absolutely.
So
much obliged.
I
Got all my chores done for the day. So
there you go. There you go. Well, I mentioned just a second ago, you are one of the resellers. In fact, you're one of the folks that I've worked with in IT the longest in my career. And you've made an interesting transition. So that's where I want to start today. So you were an individual contributor and now you've opened up Barry Solutions Group. So what kind of led to that transition and how has your experience been as a business owner?
It's been a blessing for sure. I would say that I started in operations and slowly but surely across my 20 plus year career, got closer and closer to the transaction, as I call it, closer to the sale. And as you start to get closer and closer to the sale, you start to understand the business as a whole, the entire, process. And then in turn, you get closer to things like GP and AR, AP, and really the entire business life cycle. So then it's just a natural progression to where once you understand there's no scary things behind certain curtains here or there in some of the processes, it starts to make sense to say, you know what, I feel like I could do this entire process and manage it myself. And that's kind of what I do. And when you say manage it yourself, maybe if you're, running a detail shop or something like that, you can do it yourself. But running an IT company, it's not something you do yourself. You have to learn very quickly how to delegate and bring a team together. So right. Teamwork makes the dream work, like this.
There you go. Well, one of the other things about you that I neglected to put it in, and it's a big part of who you are, is that you're a Marine. So first of all, thank you for your service, and thanks again for all the time that we've spent together. But I kind of want to touch on that is, what are some of the things that, like habits, disciplines, values that were instilled and impressed upon you in the military that you feel like have led to like translated over into your IT career?
Sure. So first off, I would say that I was raised in a household. My father was a Marine, and both my older brothers were Marines. So it was long before I got to Paris Island that I was indoctrinated in the Marine Corps way, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
Okay.
But that being said, we say something, as Marine veterans that it's a great place to be from, not always the best place to be. And another way of putting it is the Marine Corps term for being in the fleet or in the field is called the suck, because at times it sucks, right? But that being said, a lot of the things that you learn through that process, really it lets you face problems or challenges, and not in a if, but in a how, right? You do not hesitate. It's just one problem after, you just keep solving them, and you keep on marching forward, right? Until you get to the hill, right?
Yeah.
Take the hill, as they say. So that's probably the most it's a cumulative way I could say it, but yeah, obviously values, honor, are things that, come pretty standard for that. I will not give up my honor for business. So with that, it tends to give people a good feeling of working with me, because
Yeah.
it's much more than just gross profit that makes me try to strive to be the best person I can be.
I can attest to that, my friend. Always doing the right thing for the customer, for, you know, your own reputation. It's never have to worry about a knife in the back from John Barry, which I can't say about everybody out there, unfortunately. So I think that's an interesting point, though, especially in sales. I feel like this is an industry where you're kind of surrounded by a lot of negativity. In a lot of ways, the reputation is the like sleazy salesman, and not only to do things with honor, but the first thing you said about, not backing down in the face of adversity. I think it's a big thing for sellers, and something that probably I underestimated when I got into this field of, like, there's going to be a lot of no's, but it's worth it to keep striving to get the yes.
Actually, there's a good book, and I don't want to put a pitch in for anybody, but there's a book called Go for No that earlier in my career somebody gave me, and it really drives down that point where, at least if you can get into a conversation, get in someone's office and have them tell you no, well, then you're in a position to possibly win, right? So even if you can get to that place, you've actually succeeded if you get
Yeah.
a no, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's another one that I read somewhere that said, yeses are good, nos are okay, maybes will kill you.
Mm-hmm. Got dial it in. Right?
Yeah.
Got to dial it in.
So, all right, cool. So I know that, especially more over the last few years, you've lived on your farm. You do live on a farm, and you've been raising animals. I know you and your kids do a lot of work with the animals. Tell me a little bit about that, and maybe how that's kind of changed your perspective on some things.
So I would say I grew up on a non-working farm, a lot of land, um, and and it definitely transformed me to do hunting and fishing, and being outdoors all the time.
Mhm.
But the actual commercial farming aspects I never really got involved with, and I got introduced through my daughter, who is big in 4-H. What a great program it is! It really draws the lines, or connects the lines, if you will, for children to understand where their food comes from, right?
Right.
So I really enjoyed her learning that process, and I learned a lot through that process as well. And it allows them, the children, to kind of get their hands dirty, and through that process, it's opened my eyes to really see how that process can work for a family. In sustainment farming is kind of what we do, as well as what we're starting to delve in is commercial farming. So really, one is kind of a hobby farm, and the other is more doing it as a business. So through the last 5 years or so, we've been a hobby farm, and we most recently just became a full commercial farm.
Wow.
A lot of different reasons. We have land. We have a lot of land here. A lot, 50 plus acres. But also it allows me to try to get my daughter and us as a family moving towards more of that sustainment and commercial farming, so that we can in turn have another, every salesperson says you need a couple different hustles, right? So the farming industry is going to allow us to kind of branch out and be venturous, and it's a great stress reliever for me personally when I get out there and I'm able to work with the animals. It really is so abstract to what my IT ownership career is. So it's really been rewarding. It's a good balance.
Yeah. I gotta say, I think it's pretty incredible. I really, my question is, how do you do it? How do you find time for it all? I know the demands on my time with, my kids, my family, and my career. I'm not running a business though, and I don't have a farm, and I feel stressed. How do you find time to put it all together?
I really Yeah, I would say that I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I'll put it that way, right? As a veteran, the whole NFL thing opened up Sundays, and that's been a real great opportunity for us to work as a family together, and build partitions in the barn, and take care of worming animals, and doing things like that. So there's that, and then really, a family that works together stays together. Yeah, I'm sure you probably heard that term. And so, we whenever there's family time to be had, we get our muck boots on and we go to work, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of probably the best way to put it. And I don't spend as much time on my Peloton as maybe I should, right? But believe you me, I get my exercise just the same,
Shoot, yeah.
trying to make sure, right? So that's really, I would say, the best way to do it is it's finding opportunities to maximize your family time with productivity. And that's really what I've done. Even in my social world, from a business standpoint, I've I've had to step back a little bit from some of the friend only relationships, because between my family and my work, it's very difficult to find balance. So yeah, that's probably what I would say is the best way that I've been able to manage it, is just by trying to um, just maximize every minute you get, and say, I can spend time with my daughter and I can be productive on the farm. And best believe that I'm still having my phone on the ready, so that when things happen with Barry Solutions Group, I'm on them. So many a times have I, taken my, crappy glove off from shoveling things out, and taking a phone call from a president of a said company that's a client.
That's
Little do they
awesome.
know that I'm knee deep in goat shit. So
um
yeah.
now you guys compete at the fair and stuff like that. You guys have raised some prize animals, right?
Yeah. We've really been blessed to have a lot of people within our 4-H group and then beyond. And we have up here, we have the Penn State University is a huge advocate, and they promote 4-H very heavily around here, to where we're able to really have a lot of resources at our disposal to get them. So we've had prize chickens, we've had prize goats. I wouldn't say, we literally put lipstick on a pig last year by trying to put a pig in 4-H, and not my most enjoyable adventure. But we learned a lot. We didn't win on that one. It was a little more difficult than what I expected, right? But pigs are fun, but just not really. I love bacon, so I thought, what's not to love about pigs, right? But raising them and cleaning them, and they're pigs,
Yeah.
right? They're not really supposed to have lipstick on. So.
Well, I gotta say, my wife will love listening to this, because she was a big 4-H'er. In fact, my wife's whole family was like super into 4-H. My sister-in-law worked at one of the camps down here, so very near and dear to the shepherds, and indirectly to my family. So that's pretty cool. Okay, cool. So let's
such a great program.
Yeah. Let's shift back to the IT stuff. What are some of the trends that you are seeing with customers? What are things that you have maybe identified that people are looking for more knowledge right now, or they're coming to you asking for questions, guidance on? What are the big things that you see in the industry right now?
I mean, I hate to take the DISA NSA role here, right? But we are in a difficult situation from a security perspective across the board. We really are. It's a scary day because of the cybersecurity threats that are out there. I read something the other day that said in 2021, 38% of businesses were affected in some way or another from ransomware or a cybersecurity breach.
Wow.
38%.
That's terrifying.
Wow. Right? Yes, it is terrifying. So I would say that is probably the largest shift. It used to be about production, and now it's about protection, right? So by that nature, oftentimes production gets gets quelched, if you will, because you have to focus and commit resources to protection. So with that mindset, there's always a dual role in everything we do these days that says, what kind of burdens do we see, from a security perspective that, from this change, what will happen. So we've really implemented a heavy reliance on ITIL methodology,
Okay.
which is really kind of the best ways to implement solutions and to run a business, and really across the board, software development, all of it is all, there's a methodology called ITIL that we've really embraced in an attempt to try to, refine our processes to ensure that we don't leave any holes.
Yeah. Can't be too careful.
Yeah. Right.
We were
Say that, and then the other thing, Connor, I would be remiss to say is that, it's been a while now. We've been moving towards the cloud, right? Cloud. I think people are starting to finally realize that that's not all eggs in one basket are the best, right? Who knew, right? Who knew that balance was the key, right? But yeah, now it's not like cloud, right? Everything's cloud, right? It's supposed to be balanced. There's some things that are appropriate to put in the cloud. There's some things that are not, and so that, I think, is been a positive in my mind, change, because I've always had a high level of paranoia when it came to putting everything, in the hands of Bill Gates, right? Or Jeff Bezos. So that balance is good, I think, and that's been a positive trend. And then I think finally the other one really comes down to, the edge and AI and all of these buzzwords now are really starting to materialize or metastasize, if you will. And a lot of them we're still trying to dial in. It's an interesting time to see AI and security and cloud all come together as we try to dial everything in. And I got my popcorn, I guess is probably the best way to say it, because I think we got some interesting years ahead of us with this one.
Yeah, for sure. Let the record show that I did not pay John to say that things are moving from the cloud to the edge. That happens to be where I play. I did not ask him to say that.
Just the reality, buddy. You know what I mean? Just the reality.
I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. I like our company. I like our position. And you guys know our story. So it's makes it fun to work with folks like you and your team.
And I'm not, this is not a pitch that Connor told me to say, but I enjoy working with companies that I feel have the same mindset as I do, right? The customer deserves value. When they join me and they give their confidence in using me, I am responsible to provide value. And a lot of times the value comes from availability, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that we're there to support them when things may not go exactly as planned. And I will say that I look for companies to work with that feel the same way that I do. And without question, Storm Magic has hit that one, right? How many times have we had 10 or 11 o'clock at night text message conversations back and forth trying to dial things in, right? So
yep.
That's the reality of it. We have to work to make that value happen, and communication, is the key. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody at Storm Magic that has helped me be successful in representing Storm Magic with my clients.
Well, I appreciate saying that. I find it interesting. There's been a few times, probably more than a few times, where I've had customers call me or text me at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I pick up the phone and I answer it and I help them with however I can. And then there's been some of those times where the next time I see them, they're like, I can't believe you picked up the phone when I called you at night. I'm like, why wouldn't I pick up the phone? Like, that's literally my job. Like, I'm here to help you guys. And I can't believe that there's people, it's been conditioned enough in the industry for people to be shocked when you actually pick up the phone.
Yeah. I don't want to beat up on our millennial, juniors, but But I think that there's a level of that, punching a clock mindset that is, is there when you're younger and you haven't really matured enough to own a situation, own your role, right?
Mhm.
And for me, my personal role is, I've always said this. This is someone that that was a mentor to me at one point in time. He said, John, he said, what's the most important thing in your life? And I said, family, right? Family is the most important thing in your life. Well, what's the most important thing that sustains your family? It's your job, right? You
Yeah.
got to have your money in order to take care of your family, to feed your family. So by default, you got to be Johnny on the spot, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I
It
tried
makes
to be.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So kind of with that, that's a side question alongside with that. Um, you probably more than anybody I've ever worked with, when I show up to a business meeting with John Barry, it's hard to tell if I'm at a business meeting or a family reunion. What are some of the things that you feel like you do to build those relationships with the people you work with?
I think we touched on it, Connor.
Yeah.
I mean, you just want to wear your heart on your sleeve, be real, right? There's a, you know, there's a fine line between being a chameleon in sales that sometimes we have to be, right? And still being yourself, right? And I've always tried to finesse and refine that balance for myself. Yes, I need to be, chameleon so that I can communicate well with all types of people and personalities,
Right. Right.
but at the same time, the root cause of my success is my responsiveness and my loyalty and my attention to detail, right? That's what really makes the difference with me providing value. But to establish that communication with the varying personalities, that really requires you to be a bit of a chameleon, right?
Right.
And it's not deceptive or salesy or slimy, in my opinion. You just have to isolate, the many things that make up John Barry. Well, likely there's something in my repertoire of who I am that can associate me with something that person has. So that then at least it builds a connection there to say, okay, yeah, I'm a car guy. Yep. I have driven 150 plus miles an hour. Yep. Yeah. I have a need for speed, right? Got your back. Oh, you used to race motorcycles. Okay. Yeah. I can get down with that. I've done stupid stuff on motorcycles before. I'm on it, And then there's other people that, they're in education. Well, my wife's an educator. So I get that, right? And my kids go through this. So you just try to find areas where you can, and once you start to have that connection, then you enhance it. And then it allows you to have that pipeline, if you will,
Yep.
or that connection to where then that conduit allows you to build value through what we're trying to do, right? Which is business. So I always try to establish, a core conduit communication, and then I build out on that. So when it's time for business, the information flows through the same channel that it did from the personalities,
Right.
And the
Right.
connection. And in my opinion, that's probably what it comes down to, because it's most important for me to establish that connection first, and and understand who it is that you are, Connor, and this is who I am, John Barry. And now you feed your family by selling Store Magic. I feed my family by providing solutions from BSG. Is there any way we can work together? Right?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think the thing that when you read the books and the seminars and all that kind of stuff, it gets not washed over, but it becomes more robotic, more transactional. And that's just not how people are. People want to be connected with on a personal level. And the people on the other end of the phone are people with priorities and jobs and families. They're not a prospect. They're a person. And
Right.
I think it's not any different to a customer relationship as it is to like a friend. If I had a friend that all they wanted to do was talk about themselves, or they didn't pick up when I called or texted or wanted to hang out, I'm not really going to be friends with that person. And so, I think a lot of that translates to this world too, of you got to be somebody that somebody can have a relationship with, wants to pick up the phone, wants to go to lunch with you when you're in town. I mean, there's a personal side to it that is, I think, overlooked by a lot of the sales experts.
And I think it's, in my opinion, we have a couple of sayings, if you will, Barry-isms, maybe is the better way to put it.
Yeah.
Right? Right. And it's you treat people the way you want to be treated. Right. That's first and foremost. And on that same note, to progress it further, we always say that a relationship, whether that be a personal relationship or whether that be a business relationship, it needs to be mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial. So if you're not paying attention to what the other person needs to yield value out of the relationship, well, then how the hell can it possibly be mutually beneficial when all you give a shit about is closing your own books, right? Or your own business. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, John, traditionally, the last question that I have for folks on the show is, let's say it's been a long morning. You've been up since before the sun got up, doing all kinds of work around the farm, hanging out with the chickens and pigs and whatever else you got going on. Take a shower, get cleaned up. You're headed into town for a meeting, but you want to stop and get some coffee first. Roll into a coffee shop. What is the go-to coffee order for John Barry?
Lose my man card on this one probably, but it's probably some form of a frozen coffee drink.
All right.
Anybody that knows me knows that I don't need caffeine. I'm a pretty wired individual.
Yeah, okay? For sure.
So with that, at a first couple of years of my career, I realized that 1 or 2 cups of coffee is okay. John Barry on 5 or 6 cups of coffee, really not mutually beneficial for anybody in the room. Okay, tend to get a little zealous. So with that, I found that some of the more frozen frappes and frappuccinos are typically a little more palatable and make me less eyes wired, ready to strangle someone. So,
all right, heart beating out of your chest style. Oh man. Well, John, thanks so much for the time. It's been great chatting with you. And thanks to all of you guys for joining us. This has been Friday Coffee Talks, episode 57 with John Barry of Barry Solutions Group. Appreciate the time, John. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Appreciate you, Connor.
Yes, sir.
God bless you.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks.